Hey everybody. No song today. I'm recording this very late for one thing, and also this is kind of more heavy-handed subject, so I figured, not really appropriate this time. But so I'm recording this on the night of January 11th. The night of the 10th, but it is now 1:11 that I'm recording this. Whatever. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's very late, and this was about an hour or two after the news broke, on my timeline about the passing of David Bowie, who was apparently under an 18-month-long battle with cancer. And this is very awful news, obviously. David Bowie was an incredible musician, understatement to say that. Have a lot of friends like Kira Buckland who are massive fans of his, who are, of course, Martin Billany as well. I don't know if the news has hit him just yet at the time that I'm recording this, but either way, a lot of friends who are really big fans of his stuff. And of course, obviously, I love his music as well. And this was really sad to hear this passing, and to any and all, friends and family of his. No, I very much doubt that any of them would hear this, but, my heart goes out to all of them for this awful loss. And 69 years old is still too young as far as I'm concerned for the guy. This is also just off the heels. By the time this is coming out, this will be 2 or 3 days after the end of the very amazing, and this is related, of course, Awesome Games Done Quick marathon, the speedrunning marathon, charity event, and they raised $1.2 million for the Prevent Cancer Foundation, which is absolutely amazing. And it was a wonderful week-long event. I always look forward to it, and all the runners and everybody who ran the event did an amazing job, as always. I don't know if this is like a record broken or anything for them, but they raise a shit ton of money every single year, and it's absolutely amazing. But either way, they did an amazing job, and I suppose in some way it's a small glimmer of hope in the fact that, unfortunately, this happens to many people, but it can be prevented, and people work very, very hard to make sure that others don't have to go through that pain, as much as humanly possible, and that's great. I wanted to just kind of, while this is fresh and while I've been thinking about it, it's been a very, I guess, difficult time. I've tried not to let that come out too much in the Kirblogs that I've been doing the last few months, but because I want this to be something positive for people to look forward to. But kind of going off of the recent events from again, this is going to be going up on the 12th, but the events that have happened the last couple days. I wanted to take this time. I never really thought to do this before, but I thought it would be an appropriately fitting topic. I wanted to talk about a friend of mine who I regrettably lost to cancer many years ago. A guy by the name of Raymond Green. Ray was a guy who I met in middle school, and I think I've probably talked about this before. Middle school was not pleasant for me. It's not pleasant for a lot of kids growing up. It's it's a time in our lives where kids are particularly extra mean, and because nobody knows what the hell that they're doing with their lives. Whether they're the bully or the bullied, nobody knows what the hell they're doing, and everybody's just kind of staggering through life, as it were. But Ray was by this point, when I had met him, I had a few of my friends from the second of two elementary schools that I had been to, which included Mike Lucas by that point already. And I reunited with a few friends of mine from the first elementary school that I went to for the first 3 years. And that was nice, and it was good to feel like I had a little bit more of a friend group to envelop myself in, a little bit more so than before, especially because 5th grade for me was pretty shitty. I was picked on a lot at that time. And middle school happened, and, it was kind of off the heels of that year. It was very difficult for me, and I just tried to, cling to as many people as I could trust who cared about me and were cool with me as I could. And Ray was a kid. I remember I met him one day. It was during a fire evacuation, a fire drill, I should say, not an actual evacuation. Fire drills in elementary school. And during this evacuation, I wish I could remember the exact detail, but I do remember that it was a conversation about a Lugia card. Pokemon was still very, very big at the time. This would have been 2000, 2001, I believe. The craze had died down for a lot of kids that were my age, in terms of, I was taking a little bit too far and I was annoying and bothering a lot of people about it, but again, thankfully I had my friends who were all into it and they had their own interests and stuff and we were all into geeky stuff. But somehow I think we just were talking about, and because the new movie had just come out or something, or some, I forget exactly, but Ray had a Lugia card and we were talking about that and we were just conversing about Pokemon while we were in this fire drill. I think it was like two different classes. We were in two separate classes and they both, happened to be close together, the two lines that were, lining up outside, during this time or whatever. And, I remember thinking that he was kind of weird and I liked that. And I was like, I think I would get along with this guy. So after that, we, I guess, basically remembered each other. We hung out more, and then just kind of, by that point, he sort of got integrated into my friend group. Like, it just sort of happened, like, very naturally. And I remember he and Mike were pretty tight as well, if I'm remembering correctly. I think a lot of us were, like, we'd often hang out, obviously just, during lunch and et cetera, and recess, and when we were waiting for our buses and et cetera outside. I really got to know him a lot. And he was, he was like becoming a really, really close friend throughout all of, those 3 years in middle school through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And, we all really connected, and he made me feel really safe, because even though everybody was really mean and nasty and I got picked on a lot, for being very obnoxious and annoying, because I was weird, we were the weird nerdy kids, but Ray was a completely different breed of weird. He was fond of doing impressions and like weird voices, not in like a, I want to be a voice actor kind of way. He was a clown. He was a class clown. And, but he was really fucking entertaining. And the amazing thing was that even though he was a weird kid and he was a nerd and he liked, video games and anime or whatever, and didn't play sports or et cetera, everybody loved him. Even the kids who were jerks were like, oh dude, yeah, Ray Green is fucking hilarious. I love that kid. Like, and I remember when I heard that from like some people that I didn't like, I was like astounded, because I was like, oh wow, like Ray is a powerful force in this in this school district. And I have fond memories of him being part of a lot of my like parties, and like particularly birthday events where like because I would try to like do cool stuff for my birthday parties when I'd have all my friends over, and we'd like have like game tournaments and like play board games, or like I'd make my own board games, or like make some kind of story out of it or whatever. This is like also during the time where like a lot of the inspiration for what later became Balancing Act was happening, and I had a character based on Ray, and it was so funny because I remember when you're kids, you're not a fully fleshed out human being, and so there's not always a whole when you make stories about this is the adventure of me and my friends or whatever, it's like sometimes you're really kind of stretching for exactly what the personality and character traits of these characters based on your friends are in the first place. Because a lot of my friends were just other kids, it's not to say anything bad about them, just we were kids, and not everybody had like, some, outstanding, unique thing to themselves, because this was like, age 11 to 13 or 14 or whatever it was for those few years. But Ray, even though obviously he was still a kid like us, he was such a character. And I don't say that to like trivialize like who he was as a person. Just he completely just like it seemed like, I mean, if anything, that he just completely owned who he was. Like he seemed like he just had no. This is just the impression that I had no idea. Maybe it was completely differently in his head, but he came up as a kid who just had like no fear. He just was who he was, and he was a funny, weird goofball dude, and it was he was an amazing friend. He was an amazing person in my life for those years. So after those 3 years of middle school, we started up our freshman year of high school, and I was beginning to see Ray less and less. It was getting to be more difficult to find him, and he started acting strange, but not the strange that we knew and love. He was starting to be very antisocial, and he was getting very quiet, and that was very strange to me because I didn't quite. It was very jarring. It was very like, what is going on? Like it was very, very strange mood swings with him. And I remember there was one particular conversation I had with him. Like I got fed up. I was like, what the hell's going on with you? Why are you acting like an asshole? And his response was, I am an asshole. And I didn't even know what to say. I don't even think the conversation continued from there. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on, man? It was very strange. And before I knew it, Ray wasn't in school. And, all of us, who had been, again, having difficulty keeping track of him and finding where the hell he was, and seeing him around school at all in our freshman year, we were like, what the hell happened? And it turned out that he had a tumor growing in his throat. And we had a mutual friend, sort of. It was there was another kid who knew Ray fairly well, and we were like me and my friend group were like semi-acquainted with this guy. And this other kid was keeping in touch directly with Ray and his family. He had a single mom, and we were like trying to find out like what the hell was going on with this, and we were told that Ray was diagnosed with cancer, and none of us really knew how to react to that. And that I think for a lot of us, it was the first time that we ever knew. Definitely for me, but I would wager good money it was the first time any of us ever had somebody in our lives that that had cancer ever. It was completely like an alienatic kind of experience to us all. Again, definitely for me. I can't speak for everybody, but I would assume so at the time because we were all fairly young. But so we started to visit Ray in the hospital. He was receiving chemo, and we would go to see him as much as possible, and it was really sad because obviously he lost all of his hair, his voice was a wreck, which was and he was skinny as a rail. He was skinnier than me, and that's fucking saying something. It was hell to see it. It was hard. It was hard for me to even see it, and I know that in retrospect, it's like, you want to talk about fucking hard. It's like, yeah, how about what he's going through, but, and so it's certainly not to compare, but it's like, I literally don't think I knew how to comprehend like what was really, I knew what was happening, but I couldn't I couldn't deal. It was very strange. I didn't know how to deal with it, but I wanted to be there for him. So I went to go visit him as much as I could. He was out of the hospital, and I was even told by that mutual friend at one point, he's going to be all right. They managed to beat it. And then after some time passed, unfortunately, it came back up, and he was back in the hospital again. And I remember, I think my last interaction I had with him was I sent him a letter, telling him how strong I thought he was and how inspirational he was to me, for having such a person like him in my life in the first place. And, I do regret, because I said regrettably lost, I regret that this probably was my last interaction with him while he was alive, because I think probably part of the reason why I wrote a letter to him is because I think I was too afraid to see him again. I was too afraid to see the pain that he was going through. Like I wasn't strong enough to be able to handle it. I felt really ashamed, and I remember getting the phone call. I was at my dad's house. This would have probably been, I guess, second year. And no, it wasn't. Because I remember that I actually did have a character based on him in the TV Tome Adventures movie. There was a little werewolf guy named Bowsermond, which I completely forgot about this. I had basically inspired Ray's idea for a screen name because I told him, where Kirblog came from, and that it was a combination of Chris and Christopher and Kirby. He was like, "Oh, I like Bowser. My name's Raymond, so I'll be Bowsermond." And then I think whatever the number of how old he was at the time, and he was joining our forums and playing around with us and stuff. And I remember I was really tickled by the fact that that was what led him to pick a screen name was just based off of my stupid ass 12-year-old decision on what became my screen name for Kirblog. But the TTA movie, I believe, was second or third year of high school. I can't remember the exact time, but I definitely had that character in the movie before he passed away. And I think it was actually because he was getting sick and I wanted to do something kind of in tribute to him, to just show him how much that I cared. And I really wanted to do service to him, and I think I remember that if he hadn't seen it, I think that he at least appreciated it. It's been a long time, and I unfortunately don't remember every detail of that, but either way. Back on track though. I got the phone call about he'd passed away, and it was strange because I think that was also the first time that I had ever had to deal with the loss of another person that I knew and cared about. And it was very strange because I remember shedding a tear, I think, which was, only natural, but I wasn't distraught. I wasn't absolutely losing my mind. I wasn't oh my God, I wasn't having a breakdown. I told, I think it was the mutual friends mom or something who was keeping in touch with Ray's family, that what happened. And I said, thanks very much. I'll keep in touch, etc. And I hung up the phone and, I shed a tear but I was very quiet. It was very solemn. And, we had an announcement at our school. The mutual friends had an announcement over the PA about his passing. By that point, it had been a few days. We went to his wake. All of us were there. And I remember we actually had a good time. We saw him in the casket, and it was, again, very solemn. But I remember us still being happy. Me and Mike and all of our friends at the time, we were all happy. Maybe it was just kind of out of service to him and how he made us feel all the time and our relationship with him. I'm not sure, but I still remember all of us. I remember talking about our hopes and dreams and what we wanted to do and what I wanted to do, and our parents who were there all looked pretty happy by the fact that we were doing okay. And I still think about it once in a while. I think about why that happened, or if it could have been stopped, or if there was more, if there's something more that some of us could have done or something. I don't know. I might never know the whole story of that, because I'm sure there's aspects of it that none of us were told, or that we didn't fully understand, or things that were out of our control and maybe out of the control of Ray's mom. I don't know, but Ray left a really lasting impact on me. I'm really grateful for the time that he was alive, that he was my friend, and that he treated me so well. I've never forgotten any of the people who treated me well, and when I was growing up in particular, just as really I try not to take for granted the people who treat me well today as much as possible. I really, really try hard. And I don't know, I was a little hesitant about doing this because I don't want this to come off as like I'm putting on a fucking performance. Like, oh, trying to cash in on the fact that this celebrity passed away. Like, oh man, better do something relevant to the topic or whatever. It's like, I'm not going to monetize this video because it's not, I wanted to share this. I never thought to share this as a Kirblog topic before, but this came to mind. It had been a while since I thought about this, and there's hope to prevent this from happening, kind of going full circle. I don't know if any of my listeners or anybody out there have anybody in their lives who are suffering from cancer of any kind. There are definitely ways to help as much as possible, and it's not easy. And I'm sorry if that is something that any of you listening are going through. I hope that you and your loved ones, including them, will be okay. And I don't know if this gives any kind of peace or solace or just relatability or anything. I'm not sure if it gives any kind of positivity. I hope. That's kind of it. I'm just gonna kind of give this a cold close, but I don't know. Thank you all for listening. If you made it this far, and rest in peace to David Bowie for his amazing work and the great positive impact that he left on a lot of people in many different ways. Very proud of everybody, again, at AGDQ for raising $1.2 million to, again, prevent this from happening for others. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So, no. I'll say thanks, Ray. Obviously, he can't hear this, but I'm still eternally grateful to him as well. So, that's it. Thanks again, and hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.